Ciao Fede.
Ciao, how are you doing?
I'm super fine actually. I'm not changing house because I'm now randomly sleeping in another house. But I'm in Berlin at the moment. And I definitely love the weather here. That is not in like California, sun and whatever. But it's like raining and the weather is super hyper cold. So I love that because I'm not sweating all the day. And how about you?
I'm doing fine, thanks. I will just say that I will never trade the California weather for the Berlin one. So I mean, if you want to stay in Berlin, yes, but I'll stay in California.
I hate you.
Thank you. Okay, let's get this done. What are we talking about today?
Let's get this done.
Boss, what are
Today
we
we're
discussing
talking
today?
about we are discussing about creativity and the creative process for doing this, because after the pilot looks like we were missing something, that we didn't focus a lot on the creative process and how we made this, how we approached this. It was just like an introduction to, hey, we are here, we want to get you on board for this and this and this, but how this amazing thing started to
Happen.
to move from an idea to a really a concept, something. Okay, it is done actually.
I believe you struck a chord in something that is very dear to my heart, and especially when you then start working and being like a professional. Because a lot of people think about design-ERS as, oh, you are the guys that think about the possibilities of what can be done, but then there is another thing that is the implementation, right? The getting things done. And nowadays, it's all about velocity. And I believe that the new role of designer is all about being more, being quicker in getting things done. And I believe we wanted to tell the story of this podcast because it's a perfect example of how two kind of creative minds came together. But we were also pretty quick in deciding, okay, let's create something, let's not spend too much time, and let's get and figure it out whether this is going to work or not, and how this is going to work. So I believe you want to go through the 3 steps that we got. And
start from the...
Yeah.
Actually, I'm looking right now at the Figma file and all the ideas and all the involvement, and it's so right, because we just finished this. It's hard for me to imagine in a week, and it's insane. There are like 50 kind of different artworks that if you see right now that as a screenshot or whatever, I mean, they are not, I don't want to say perfect, but are pretty good. I mean, it's not something that we just came out like, okay, this is it, or spending hours around that. So starting from the artwork, we decided to work on Figma for the collaborative version. But most important, you need tools in your work as a designer to gain a result, to make things done, as you said.
Yeah.
But you need attitude, and the attitude you demonstrate with me was absolutely insane. I remember that it was like I don't know, for the change our time from my time in Europe
the
and
time
was
zone?
in
It
was night it was your night, and I remember that for me it was like evening, and I was working on it, and you were too at 2 a.m. and that was part of that kind of process that really makes me feel this thing is going good. This process is really going good.
There was willingness to do.
Proud. Yes, I'm so proud to talk about that. That, okay, you need to choose the right tool, for example, Figma for the collaborative part, but at the end, it's about how people want to move together. And the speed you were talking about, I think it's with the audio and the video that you provide later, all the logistic, all the Notion file that we set it up. We made that completely together, without saying before we were going to do that, we're going to do this, because we were focused, we were aligned on the same kind of balance between speed and quality.
Let's take a moment here and so to be very, very structured, a little bit structured with the people that are watching or listening to us. I believe that the 3 steps that we took in this process, and we can dig deeper a little bit into this journey, is the first thing that we did was literally focusing on the idea rave and the strategy. We then went a little bit more into the divide and conquering of what we needed to do. And then the third part was all about the iteration and refinement, like we're doing right now. That iteration and refinements will be, I mean, never ending. But yeah, let's start from the very beginning. I think the part that a lot of people call strategy or idea rave, that's when we came together and we said, okay, I mean, you have a podcast. I really like your podcast. Why don't we do another one that can be in English with a slightly different focus, and we can invite people, and that's when we started playing around with the idea, right?
Yes, it was a moment. I remember that I just said, but why don't we make this in Italian? And you were like, okay, but let's focus on the pro and the cons. And at the end, you are still right, because if you have an idea or something in your mind at that moment, yes, in the strategy part, we were objective. We were, every time we decided something was made together, objectifying the decisions. I've never ever listened from you to say, I want to do this because I like it. Never. So in that part, I think the strategy was to align ourselves, to decide together, and to set the same expectation. And I think it's so valuable right now.
And I love what you brought in, because we didn't, of course, we have some knowledge of a lot of design podcasts that we listen to, and they're amazing, and we will probably share that too. But the idea is that we know a little bit about all the podcasting like scene, and we decided that, okay, this is where we're gonna go. And I remember you also brought a lot of additional, let's say, data or creative thoughts. I remember when you just came in about the naming, and that's another important part, because as a podcast, you want to think as a product, as anything that you want to create. How do you want to label it, right? And that's when I believe we started from the concept of design and designer, that call back the idea of whoever is like Dumb and Dumber is the infamous movie. So it looked like the two of us. It was kind of fun. Maybe it was too funny, and we went back and forth till the point where you proposed, why don't we just call it design-ERS? And eventually I liked it more than design and design. So in that process, I think what was very interesting was all the contribution and the idea and the website that you shared about the naming and the adjectives and everything that we could use. It was almost like a mood board. Not a visual mood board. It was a word mood board with a lot of ideas or things that we could have used. So it's very important for me that the very first step was very, very focused on why are we doing this, what are we trying to create, and now let's get crazy about it, and let's find a nice naming and a nice branding.
At the end, Federico, if you think about that, it's just about the starting point. Because if you don't have a starting point, and this could be very hard for everyone who's listening, for everyone who's in the design field or whatever field you want to, or whatever creative field. If you are alone, it could be easier, but it's not always like that. And you should always start from a starting point. And doing that with you, it was unbelievable easy. I don't know why. I love that. Trust me, I really love that. We spent zero on align ourselves, or for example to discuss, or we have spent no time at all in discussing or in fighting or in I don't say I have the image on my mind too when you say build castles on sand.
Yeah.
How do you translate that?
Yeah, that's
build
perfect.
castle on sand.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. So it was that part for me that was really, really that really gave me the power to do that with you. And I remember I remember that you made a fantastic description at 2 a.m. or whatever, and that was just like, this guy's right, we are exactly like that. You framed the problem because probably we started from a great first step of where we are now, and you translate that into this is where we are going to do together.
Yeah. No, I think that's a very fair point. I mean, alignment is what you want to get. The sooner, I mean, alignment doesn't mean that there is no challenge. There should be challenge all around. All around the journey, because challenge and what I call constructive tension is what makes you get better and better. So we do have that constructive tension in a positive way, constructive criticism, right? We think about different ways of doing the same thing. When we switch into the second part, that was all about the divide and conquer, and we're focusing about the artwork, the tools, the logistics. That was phenomenal, because each one of us were going for their own, like, let's say, area, but we were all building the pieces for the castle that we had in our mind, right? But again, there was always a positive challenge and a positive attitude. So you want to have alignment and keep that alignment as we went through. And I remember, I hope we can share the Figma for the ones that are going to see the video on YouTube. Yeah, we'll share the Figma here on the YouTube. But the idea is, we did a number of quick iteration, and then we do 2 or 3 regroup where we make those like decision on, okay, this is where we're gonna go, or this is not where we like. And I think that worked pretty cool. So that's something that we want to share with the people that might be listening to us. Because the important thing is, work by yourself, get things done again, because we're not talking about designing for something that gets done in months. We want to get quick there.
Yes.
And then we regroup and we say, okay, this is good. And then we split again. We get stuff done, and then we regroup, and then finally we decide. Because eventually you don't want to burn too many cycles. What was inspiring for you about all the artwork, the tool selection, the logistics, anything that you've done this alone by yourself? So what were the difference between what you've done and, I mean, I was with me. I know it might have been terrible, but yeah.
Not at all. No. I remember that was a moment where we were actually pretty close with an idea at the first beginning, like in 2 days, because I was so excited to work at this. But then you came up with another different, completely, I would not say new, but another different point of view that in the design process give this fresh air, even if you think this is good, okay? Helps us a lot. If you remember that you proposed this kind of new concept that you sketched with an Arial font and very basic layout, that based from that, we started from recreate something new in the logistic of the divide and conquer, and that this from wrapping up that we decided together where we finished this process, but we were so quick that actually it was not necessary for us to rush. So that was the greatest part for me, that we didn't have a deadline, but we shipped a great result.
Yeah, we cannot tell whether it's great or not yet. I hope that someone will appreciate that. But I think...
absolutely. But for... Go, excuse me.
No, I was thinking that the important part is then going to the third and last step of this process. That is all about the iteration and the refinement, right? So we decided to do the pilot just to create and understand what the dynamics were. So we get into what people will call testing and prototyping into, if you want to use design thinking language. But I remember the very first pilot that we did, for example, we did our recording. And then at the end of that, I asked you, it was my first time as a podcast, I said, why don't we redo it again, back to back? And we did it. And that was very inspiring.
I say yes.
Right? Because most of the time you would say, oh, yeah, iteration, let's do it more and more and more. And what did we say? When we did the second, the redo, we both said, it's not as good as the first one.
It's not as good as the first one.
So this to me is incredible, because you would think that by rehearsing, and generally it's true, because when you train for any sport, you do it, you rehearse and you get better. But for something as creative as a podcast, I think the process, right? The process of redoing, the process of doing the iteration was good, but then the outcome of the iteration was just, no, F it. Like, we're not going to use it. We're going to use the first one. So the lesson learned for me when it comes to the first step, the third step, the iteration and refinement, is be ready to get a whole loop and scrap it, because sometimes it's not what you're looking for, and you will realize quick enough if you take the risk of just doing it. So that was the most important thing.
Yeah.
And then
yes, and even yeah, we were struggling kind of with the YouTube thing, with the podcast approval stuff.
Yeah.
Because we just managed it in the beginning with the sounder, with I mean, I don't want to say names or whatever. I should be the pro right in that moment, because I already host a podcast, and in that moment I love the fact that you didn't make me in the wrong position and say, but this is the only thing that you now have to do, and you already done, so why it's not ready right now? And totally fine, totally legit, but you didn't say that. And probably because you didn't say that, I was super hyper motivated in getting things done with the support and with the Spreaker stuff and with all the podcast hosting materials for understanding why this thing is not ready at the moment, because we have some problems. So we will still fake it until we make it, but we should see the podcast right now in Spotify or in Apple Podcasts or whatever provide.
And just to wrap up the third part, that's the most important probably. When it comes to ship, especially when you work with developers, they will all be about, or engineers. Okay, we need to get things done, and it's very true, especially in a professional environment. But the point is, if you adapt to this concept of velocity, then it's super cool, because right now what we're doing is that we don't even really know all the tools. We are not even really sure we'll be using all the tools that we are using, but we're just testing them out. So we're figuring out whether YouTube works better than the other tool, which tools we'll be using to recording the session, cameras, videos, everything, lights. So it's cool, because at the very end, in probably 3 or 4 episodes, we will find our balance, and the products will be much better. So that's the whole concept of... yeah, go ahead.
We are adapting ourselves on things that we need. So that's why we are learning by doing, and not learn everything and use the 1%. That's it I think in a short sentence.
I agree.
And that's what I would love to point out to everyone who's listening. You don't need every time to change tools or to follow the trends. You need to understand what you need and test those tools who are right for you to probably, because we are talking about probability and statistic. Testing them out, because if you test it and if you try it by yourself, it's 100% worth it, better than a friend of mine told.
And I believe we lost you for a second on the connection from California to Berlin.
Really?
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me?
I got you back. I got you back perfectly.
I can hear you. Oh, it was an amazing closing, kind of, but I will redo that, because at the end it's not about the tool, or it's not about the end of in general. It's about what you need for. That's what I like the most, the fact that we decide together what we need and using things to get things done. It's like, I want to eat pasta, so I made that. I'm not spending all the time to learn about how to bake or how to do other stuff. I just need to do that. Boom.
Yeah, sometimes it does, and you forget the salt, but then you're gonna add it the next time, and eventually you became a better cook. Okay, so let me wrap up with one thing, because one of the things, and to be completely honest with everyone, we are just also trying to be like in the time and getting things better. So we want to try to stay under the 20-minute mark. And I would like to close by asking you, then, what is the one thing that you really liked about this 3-step process that we did, and what is one thing that we could have done better?
The thing that I like the most as I told you, it was the understanding part, because we were not scared at the beginning to do, oh, should this be successful? Should be this will help people? Should be? We say, no, I like you, you like me. Let's try to find our creativity in a good way for others, because without worrying too much about the outcomes, the I don't know, the analytic stuff for now, because we are doing this and we are testing this while we are making. This is something that I love, and something that I don't like. Honestly, 100% honest with myself, nothing, because it was an amazing journey from the beginning, and it will be more amazing, more great when we will fail, and I will say to you, Federico, we failed on this. Great.
Yeah, I love that.
Well, not fail on everything, just fail on something that we can understand why we are trying this. And what about you? I'm so curious to ask the same for you.
So I was very happy by the fact that we were able to kind of like clone or replicate the kind of structure that I've been using like for work in something as creative and quick as a podcast. So these 3 steps that we discussed about strategy and idea rave, that was done super quick. The divide and conquer was super smooth. Everyone was doing his own list of activities. And then how we embrace right now, we are totally embracing this culture of like prototyping and failing and trying again in refining every time, right? So I'm super happy, because I've never done any product like a podcast, and it gets me inspired. As a matter of fact, the other day I sent you a text and I was saying I'm super excited about the next time we're gonna record. I feel the sense of urgency, so I'm excited, and that's the best thing you can have.
And did you remember what I answered to you? I said, okay, let's do this right now if you want. That's not a problem.
Yeah. Then I didn't have time for work, but that's another story.
True. That's another story.
The thing that I mean, the reason why you said what we could have done better kind of comes from the agile mentality, right? When you do what is called a retrospective, and it's not something that has to be bad, as you said. It's like embracing the failure to make sure that you get better. So I don't know, maybe there's a part of me that would have been a little bit more aligned with how do we share this with the world, and then connecting all the the artworks with the rest. But the mess is creative, so it's not something that I'm too like picky with. Overall, let's keep doing this, and
it's part of us.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it's an honor.
Good. So I think we're done with episode 1. The episode 2 is coming out soon.
Soon, yeah.
Hope you guys liked it. We liked it.
Absolutely. Let us know. We liked a lot. Actually, I think that the next one, I can spoiler you this, will be even better for us and hopefully for others. Let's make like a test, right? Let's test this assumption soon.
Okay.
What do you say?
Let's do it.
For me, it's super fun.
For the moment, cheers. I think that's everything from Fede
and Raffaele.
Guys.
Ciao ciao.
Ciao.